At Harvard University, where the air seemed to hum with ambition and intellect, Dr. Richard Dawson was a name that commanded both respect and fear. A tall man with sharp features and an even sharper tongue, he had spent decades teaching some of the brightest minds in mathematics. His lectures were known for their complexity and his critiques for their sting. Students whispered about him in hallways, calling him brilliant but intimidating. They often joked that surviving one of his classes felt like earning a badge of honor. On this particular day, Dr. Dawson stood at the front of a large lecture hall filled with eager students. The room buzzed with quiet chatter, as notebooks were flipped open and pens clicked into place. He adjusted his glasses and scanned the rows of young faces before beginning his lesson. Today's topic was advanced calculus, a subject so intricate that even seasoned mathematicians sometimes struggled to grasp its nuances. But Dr. Dawson thrived on challenges, and he loved nothing more than watching his students squirm under the weight of difficult problems. As he started writing equations, on the whiteboard something unusual caught his eye. In the very last row, almost hidden behind taller students, sat a girl who didn't quite fit in. She wasn't dressed in designer clothes or carrying an expensive laptop like most of her peers. Instead, she wore simple jeans and a plain sweater, clutching a battered notebook close to her chest. Her dark hair was tied back in a loose ponytail, and her eyes were fixed intently on the board. It wasn't hard to notice her. She looked out of place among the polished crowd. Dr. Dawson frowned slightly. He recognized her face, though he couldn't immediately recall her name. Then it hit him. This was Emily Carter, the janitor's daughter. Henry Carter, her father, worked late nights mopping floors and emptying trash bins around campus. Dr. Dawson had seen him occasionally when leaving his office after hours. Henry always greeted him warmly, tipping his cap and offering a polite, "Good evening, Professor." But now, here was his daughter, sitting quietly in a class meant for graduate-level students. Curiosity mingled with irritation within Dr. Dawson. What was she doing here? This wasn't just any lecture. It was reserved for those pursuing advanced degrees in mathematics. People paid thousands of dollars to attend these courses, and yet this girl, who clearly didn't belong, was occupying a seat without permission. He felt a twinge of annoyance. There were rules for a reason, and everyone needed to follow them. "Excuse me," Dr. Dawson said suddenly, interrupting his own explanation mid-sentence. The room fell silent as all eyes turned toward him. Without waiting for acknowledgement, he pointed directly at Emily. "You there, in the back. What's your name?" Emily froze, startled by the sudden attention. She hesitated for a moment, then stood up slowly, clutching her notebook tighter. "I'm Emily Carter," she replied softly, her voice barely audible over the murmurs spreading through the room. Dr. Dawson tilted his head, pretending to think. "Ah, yes, Mr. Carter's daughter. I see you've decided to join us today. Tell me, Miss Carter, are you enrolled in this course?" The question hung heavy in the air. Emily swallowed nervously but held her ground. "No, sir. I'm not officially enrolled. I've just been listening." A few snickers broke out among the students. Someone muttered something about audacity, while another whispered about how embarrassing this must be for her. Dr. Dawson raised an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed. "Listening," he repeated, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "This isn't a concert hall, Miss Carter. This is a university classroom. We don't have spectators here." Emily flushed red but didn't look away. "I know, sir. I'm sorry if I've caused any trouble. I really love math." Her honesty took some people by surprise. While many expected her to shrink under the pressure, Emily remained calm, her gaze steady. Still, Dr. Dawson wasn't swayed. If anything, her response only fueled his frustration. "Love math?" he echoed mockingly. "Math isn't about love, Miss Carter. It's about discipline, dedication, and years of rigorous study. You can't just waltz in here because you find numbers interesting." The room grew tense. Some students shifted uncomfortably in their seats, unsure whether to feel sorry for Emily or amused by the spectacle unfolding before them. Others exchanged glances, silently agreeing that Dr. Dawson was being unnecessarily harsh. After all, what harm could come from letting someone listen? But Dr. Dawson wasn't finished. Do you even understand half of what we discuss in this class, Mida? He pressed, his voice rising slightly. Because let me assure you, this isn't high school algebra. These are concepts designed for individuals who have devoted their lives to mastering them. Concepts far beyond the reach of someone, well, let's say, outside our usual circle. His words landed like a punch. Emily flinched visibly, but she didn't cry or storm out as some might have expected. Instead, she squared her shoulders and met his gaze head-on. Maybe I don't understand everything, she admitted quietly. But I'm trying. Isn't that what learning is about? For a brief moment there was silence. The entire room seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see how Dr. Dawson would respond. Would he relent? Or would he double down on his criticism? To everyone's surprise, he chuckled, a dry, humorless sound. Trying, he repeated, shaking his head. Well, Miss Carter, I admire your enthusiasm, but perhaps you should focus on subjects better suited to your background. Math has no room for dreamers or hobbyists. It demands precision, logic, and above all, belonging. With that, he turned back to the board, dismissing her entirely. The lecture resumed as if nothing had happened, but the atmosphere in the room had shifted. Several students glanced sympathetically at Emily, while others avoided looking at her, altogether. As for Emily herself, she sank back into her seat, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. Yet despite the sting of Dr. Dawson's words, she refused to leave. She stayed until the very end, scribbling furiously in her notebook, determined not to let him win. What none of them realized, not even Emily, was that this seemingly insignificant encounter would set off a chain of events that would change all their lives forever. For beneath her quiet exterior lay a mind unlike any other, one capable of seeing patterns and connections that even the greatest mathematicians missed. And though Dr. Dawson had dismissed her so cruelly, fate had other plans for them both. The days following Dr. Dawson's harsh words were difficult for Emily Carter. She replayed the incident in her mind over and over, feeling a mix of shame and frustration. Yet deep down, she refused to let his criticism define her. Math wasn't just a subject to her. It was a passion, a way of thinking that brought clarity to her world. Her father, Henry, had always encouraged her curiosity. Numbers don't care who you are, he'd say. They speak the truth, plain and simple. Despite her resolve, Emily debated whether she should continue attending Dr. Dawson's lectures. The thought of facing him again made her stomach churn, but something inside her wouldn't let go. She reminded herself why she was there, to learn, not to seek approval. So, the next week, she returned to the same seat in the back row, notebook in hand, ready to listen. Dr. Dawson noticed her presence immediately. He didn't say anything this time, but his expression hardened slightly as he glanced in her direction. Some students whispered about her persistence, while others admired her courage. Still, no one expected what would happen during that particular lecture. It was a rainy afternoon, and the room felt quieter than usual. Dr. Dawson began by presenting a problem on the whiteboard, a proof involving advanced calculus that even his brightest students found daunting. The equations sprawled across the board, filled with symbols and variables that seemed to twist and turn like a labyrinth. As he wrote, he explained the complexity of the task. "This is not something you'll solve in 5 minutes," he said confidently. "In fact, I doubt anyone here could crack it without significant effort." He turned to face the class, his eyes scanning the room. "But since we're all eager learners, let's make this interesting. If anyone can solve this proof by the end of today's session, I'll personally recommend them for a prestigious internship at MIT. His voice carried a hint of amusement, as though he already knew no one would dare attempt it. The room fell silent. Students exchanged nervous glances, their pens hovering above notebooks. The problem was far beyond their comfort zone, and the stakes felt impossibly high. No one moved. No one spoke. Then, from the back of the room, a soft voice broke the silence. "May I try?" All heads turned toward Emily. She stood hesitantly, clutching her notebook tightly. Her cheeks flushed under the weight of everyone's stares, but she held her ground. Dr. Dawson blinked, clearly surprised. For a moment he seemed unsure how to respond. Then his lips curled into a smirk. "Go ahead, Miss Carter," he said, gesturing dramatically toward the board. "Let's see what you've got." A ripple of murmurs spread through the room. Some students chuckled, assuming Emily would embarrass herself. Others watched with genuine curiosity, wondering if she truly believed she could tackle such a challenge. Emily ignored the whispers and walked slowly to the front of the classroom. She picked up a marker, took a deep breath, and began writing. At first, her movements were slow and deliberate. She studied the problem carefully, breaking it down into smaller parts. Her handwriting was neat, almost artistic, as she jotted down notes and equations along the margins of the board. The room grew quieter as people leaned forward, trying to follow her work. Even Dr. Dawson stopped pacing and focused intently on what she was doing. Minutes passed, and Emily's confidence grew. She started working faster, connecting dots that others hadn't seen. Where most students saw chaos, she found order. She approached the problem differently, not with brute force, but with creativity and insight. Instead of sticking rigidly to traditional methods, she combined techniques from various branches of mathematics, weaving them together seamlessly. As she worked, the atmosphere in the room shifted. The initial skepticism faded, replaced by awe and disbelief. One student whispered, "Is she really solving it?" Another replied, "I think she is." Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Emily stepped back from the board. She capped the marker and turned to face the class. Her heart pounded in her chest, but her expression remained calm. On the whiteboard, the once daunting proof now stood completed, clear, concise, and flawless. For several seconds, no one spoke. The silence was deafening. Then someone clapped. Another joined in, and soon the entire room erupted into applause. Students looked at each other in amazement, shaking their heads in disbelief. It was as if they had witnessed something extraordinary, a miracle even. Dr. Dawson stared at the board, his jaw slightly agape. He blinked rapidly as if trying to process what he was seeing. Slowly, he stepped closer, examining every line of Emily's solution. There were no mistakes. Every step was logical, every connection valid. She had solved the unsolvable. How did you do this?" he stammered, turning to face her. His tone was different now, less condescending, more curious. Emily shrugged, modestly. "My dad used to say that cleaning floors taught him to see things differently. Maybe that's why I think outside the box." Her answer stunned him. Here was a girl who, despite being mocked and dismissed, had risen above it all with grace and brilliance. In that moment, Dr. Dawson realized he had underestimated her, and perhaps himself as well. The rest of the class couldn't stop talking about what had just happened. News of Emily's achievement spread quickly across campus. Students who hadn't been in the lecture heard about it from friends, and professors began asking questions. Who was this mysterious girl who had outsmarted? One of Harvard's toughest problems for Emily, the attention was overwhelming. Reporters called, wanting interviews. Strangers congratulated her in hallways. Yet through it all, she remained humble. When asked how she managed to solve the proof, she simply smiled and said, "I just followed the numbers." Dr. Dawson, meanwhile, found himself reflecting deeply on the incident. He replayed the events in his mind, cringing at his earlier behavior. Had he let his pride blind him? Was he so focused on maintaining his authority that he failed to recognize talent when it stood right in front of him? These questions gnawed at him, forcing him to confront uncomfortable truths about himself. One evening, after a long day of teaching, he decided to visit Henry Carter. He wanted to apologize, not just to Emily, but to her father as well. He found Henry in a quiet corner of the university, mopping the floor. The janitor looked up, surprised to see the professor standing there. "Mr. Carter," Dr. Dawson began awkwardly, "I owe you and your daughter an apology. I treated Emily unfairly, and for that I'm truly sorry." Henry paused, leaning on his mop. For a moment he said nothing. Then, with a warm smile, he replied, "Apology accepted, Professor. But you know, Emily's always been special. She sees the world differently, and sometimes people don't understand that." Dr. Dawson nodded, feeling a lump rise in his throat. "She's remarkable," he admitted, "and I intend to make things right." True to his word, Dr. Dawson reached out to Emily the next day. To his relief, she accepted his apology without hesitation. "Everyone deserves a second chance," she told him gently. Her kindness only deepened his respect for her. From that point on, their relationship began to change. Dr. Dawson offered to mentor Emily formally, introducing her to influential figures in academia and helping her secure scholarships. He encouraged her to pursue her dreams, recognizing that her potential was limitless. For Emily, this marked the beginning of a new chapter, a journey that would take her farther than she ever imagined. With Dr. Dawson's support, Emily Carter's life began to transform in ways she could never have imagined. What started as an apology turned into a partnership that pushed her toward greatness. Dr. Dawson introduced her to professors, researchers, and mathematicians who were eager to meet the young woman whose brilliance had stunned Harvard's toughest classroom. At first, Emily felt out of place among these accomplished individuals, but their encouragement helped her gain confidence. They saw her not as the janitor's daughter, but as a gifted thinker with limitless potential. Dr. Dawson also encouraged Emily to apply for scholarships and grants. Her financial situation had always been a barrier to pursuing higher education, but now doors were opening for her. She received a full scholarship to attend Harvard officially, allowing her to enroll in courses and earn credits toward a degree. For the first time, she wasn't just auditing lectures. She was a student, sitting alongside others who shared her passion for learning. Her classes quickly became a space where she shone. Professors marveled at her ability to approach problems from unique angles, often finding solutions that others overlooked. In group projects, her peers looked to her for guidance, impressed by her calm demeanor and sharp mind. Emily didn't seek attention, but it found her anyway. Students began referring to her as the girl who solved the impossible, and while the nickname made her uncomfortable, it also reminded her of how far she'd come. But Emily's journey wasn't without challenges. Some people still doubted her abilities, assuming her success was a fluke or the result of Dr. Dawson's influence. During one particularly difficult seminar, a graduate student challenged her openly, questioning whether she truly understood the material or if she'd simply gotten lucky with the whiteboard proof. The room fell silent, waiting for her response. Emily took a deep breath and smiled. "I'm happy to explain my reasoning," she said calmly. She proceeded to break down the problem step by step, explaining each decision she had made and why. It worked. By the end, the skeptical student nodded in admiration, admitting, "You know your stuff better than I thought." Moments like these strengthened Emily's resolve. She realized that proving herself wasn't about silencing critics. It was about staying true to her love for math and letting her work speak for itself. Over time, even the skeptics warmed up to her, recognizing her talent and dedication. Meanwhile, Dr. Dawson continued to mentor Emily, though their dynamic evolved. He no longer saw himself as her teacher but as her collaborator. Together, they tackled complex mathematical theories, publishing papers that gained recognition in academic circles. One of their joint projects explored patterns in prime numbers, offering new insights that intrigued experts worldwide. When the paper was published, Emily's name appeared alongside Dr. Dawson's. A moment of pride for both of them. Their collaboration extended beyond research. Dr. Dawson invited Emily to give presentations at conferences, introducing her to audiences who hung on her every word. At first, public speaking terrified her. Standing in front of rooms filled with seasoned academics felt overwhelming. But Dr. Dawson coached her patiently, reminding her that she had something valuable to share. "They're here because they want to hear what you have to say," he told her. "Trust yourself." Slowly, Emily grew more comfortable. She learned to speak confidently, using simple language to explain complicated ideas. Audiences responded enthusiastically, praising her clarity and insight. After one talk, a renowned mathematician approached her saying, "You make math accessible. That's rare, and it's important." As Emily's reputation grew, so did her sense of purpose. She realized that her journey wasn't just about personal achievement. It was about breaking barriers and inspiring others. She remembered the struggles she faced as a child, when teachers dismissed her dreams because of her background. Now she wanted to be a voice for those who felt unseen. With this goal in mind, Emily began volunteering at local schools and community centers. She tutored children from low-income families, helping them build confidence in math and science. Many of these kids reminded her of herself, young, curious, and eager to learn despite the odds stacked against them. She told them stories about her own experiences, emphasizing the importance of perseverance. "Don't let anyone tell you that you don't belong," she would say. "If you love something, fight for it." Her efforts caught the attention of local media, which featured her in articles and interviews. The stories highlighted not only her academic achievements, but also her commitment to giving back. Readers were moved by her humility and determination, flooding her with messages of support. Some parents reached out thanking her for being a role model for their children. Others shared their own struggles, inspired by her resilience. One day, after a particularly busy week of teaching and tutoring, Emily sat down with Dr. Dawson to reflect on everything that had happened. They met in his office, surrounded by shelves, lined with books and papers. "You've come so far," he said, shaking his head in amazement. "When I think about how I treated you at first," Emily interrupted him with a smile. "That's in the past. What matters is where we are now and where we're going." Dr. Dawson nodded, grateful for her forgiveness. "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" he asked. Emily thought for a moment before answering. "I want to keep learning, of course, but I also want to create opportunities for others. Maybe start a program or organization that helps kids like me access education. Math changed my life, and I want to share that gift." Her words stayed with Dr. Dawson long after their meeting ended. He admired her vision and vowed to support her however he could. Together, they began brainstorming ideas for initiatives that could make education more inclusive. They envisioned workshops, mentorship programs, and scholarships designed to level the playing field for underprivileged students. As Emily worked toward these goals, she noticed subtle changes in the way people treated her. Once dismissed as an outsider, she was now regarded as a leader. Professors sought her input, students looked up to her, and even strangers approached her with questions or requests for advice. Yet through it all, she remained grounded. Her father's words echoed in her mind. "Stay humble. Remember where you came from." Henry Carter watched his daughter's transformation with pride. Though he never attended college himself, he always believed in Emily's potential. "You're doing amazing things," he told her one evening as they sat together in their small apartment. "Your mom would be so proud." Emily smiled, tears welling up in her eyes. "I couldn't have done any of this without you, Dad. You taught me to see beauty in hard work and value in every person." Henry chuckled softly. "And you're teaching the world to do the same." Despite her growing success, Emily never forgot the lessons she learned along the way. She knew that intelligence alone wasn't enough. It took courage, kindness, and a willingness to challenge the status quo. And while she had overcome countless obstacles, she understood that there was still much work to be done. As she prepared for the next chapter of her journey, Emily felt a renewed sense of purpose. She wasn't just a mathematician or a scholar. She was a trailblazer, paving the way for others to follow. With Dr. Dawson by her side and a community of supporters cheering her on, she was ready to take on whatever challenges lay ahead. Emily Carter's life had become a whirlwind of opportunities and responsibilities. With her growing reputation as a brilliant mathematician and advocate for education, she found herself balancing multiple roles: student, researcher, mentor, and speaker. Each day brought new challenges, but Emily approached them with the same determination that had carried her this far. Her journey was no longer just about personal success. It was about creating change and opening doors for others. One of Emily's biggest dreams was to start an organization that could help underprivileged students access quality education. She called it Beyond the Board, inspired by the moment. She stood in front of Dr. Dawson's classroom and proved herself on the whiteboard. The name symbolized breaking barriers and thinking creatively, qualities she wanted to instill in young minds. Dr. Dawson fully supported the idea and helped her draft a proposal to secure funding. The process wasn't easy. Writing grants, meeting with potential donors, and navigating legal paperwork required skills Emily hadn't yet mastered. But she tackled each task with patience and persistence. Late nights became her norm as she studied nonprofit management and reached out to experts for guidance. Her father, Henry, often stayed up with her, offering encouragement and sharing his own experiences of overcoming obstacles. "You've always been a fighter," he told her one evening. "This is just another battle, and I know you'll win." After months of hard work, Beyond the Board officially launched. The organization offered free tutoring sessions, workshops, and mentorship programs for children from low-income families. Emily recruited volunteers, students, teachers, and professionals who shared her passion for education. Together, they created lesson plans that combined academic rigor with real-world applications, showing kids how math and science connected to everyday life. The response was overwhelming. Parents lined up to enroll their children, and local schools partnered with the program to provide additional resources. At the first workshop, Emily stood before a group of wide-eyed students, holding a simple calculator in her hand. "Math isn't scary," she told them. "It's like solving puzzles. And guess what? You're all puzzle solvers." Her enthusiasm was contagious. Kids who once dreaded math class now looked forward to learning. One boy named Marcus particularly stood out. He reminded Emily of herself, quiet, unsure, but curious. During a session on algebra, Marcus hesitated to answer a question, fearing he might get it wrong. Emily knelt beside him and said gently, "It's okay to make mistakes. That's how we learn." By the end of the workshop, Marcus was raising his hand eagerly, eager to show off his answers. As word spread about Beyond the Board, Emily received invitations to speak at events across the country. She traveled to conferences, schools, and community centers, sharing her story and advocating for educational reform. Her speeches focused not only on the importance of STEM education, but also on the need for inclusivity in academia. "Talent is everywhere," she often said, "but opportunity isn't. We have to bridge that gap." Her message resonated deeply with audiences. Teachers wrote to thank her for inspiring them to rethink their methods. Policymakers invited her to contribute ideas for improving public education systems. Even corporations took notice, offering sponsorships and partnerships to expand Beyond the Board nationwide. Despite her busy schedule, Emily never lost sight of her roots. Every weekend, she visited her father at the university, helping him clean floors or simply sitting down to chat over coffee. These moments grounded her, reminding her of where she came from and why she worked so hard. "You're changing lives," Henry told her during one of their conversations. "Not just the kids, but yours too." Dr. Dawson remained a constant presence in Emily's life, both professionally and personally. Their collaboration continued to yield groundbreaking research, earning them recognition in mathematical journals. They co-authored several papers, exploring topics ranging from number theory to data analytics. When asked about their partnership, Dr. Dawson humbly credited Emily for much of their success. "She sees connections I never would have noticed," he admitted during an interview. "Working with her has made me a better mathematician and a better person." Their bond extended beyond academics. Dr. Dawson introduced Emily to influential figures in the scientific community, opening doors she hadn't known existed. He encouraged her to apply for prestigious fellowships and awards, pushing her to aim higher than she thought possible. In turn, Emily taught him the value of humility and compassion. Their friendship became a testament to the power of redemption and mutual respect. By the time Emily graduated from Harvard, she had achieved more than anyone could have predicted. She earned top honors in her degree program and delivered a moving speech at the commencement ceremony. Standing on stage, she looked out at the sea of graduates and families reflecting on her journey. "I didn't come here with privilege or connections," she began. "What I did have was a love for learning and a stubborn refusal to give up. If I can stand here today, so can you. No matter where you come from, your dreams are valid." Her words brought tears to many eyes, including Dr. Dawson's. As Emily stepped off the stage, he hugged her tightly, whispering, "You've done it. You've truly done it." Graduation marked the beginning of a new chapter for Emily. Armed with her diploma and a clear vision for the future, she set her sights on expanding beyond the board. She dreamed of reaching students in rural areas and underserved communities, bringing education to those who needed it most. To fund these efforts, she organized fundraisers, gave TED Talks, and collaborated with tech companies to develop affordable learning tools. But Emily's impact wasn't limited to her organization. Her story inspired countless individuals to pursue their passions despite adversity. A young girl from Chicago emailed her saying, "Your journey gives me hope. I want to be like you when I grow up." A single mother in Texas wrote, "Because of you, my son believes he can go to college someday." Reading these messages filled Emily with gratitude and renewed purpose. Even as her fame grew, Emily stayed true to herself. She avoided flashy clothes or expensive gadgets, preferring simplicity and authenticity. Her father joked that she still ate peanut butter sandwiches for lunch, just like when she was a child. "Some things never change," he teased. But Emily didn't mind. Material possessions meant little to her compared to the joy of making a difference. Looking back, Emily realized how far she'd come since that fateful day in Dr. Dawson's classroom. What started as a clash of egos had transformed into a partnership that changed both their lives. From being mocked and dismissed, she had risen to become a beacon of hope and inspiration. Yet she knew her journey wasn't over. There were still barriers to break, still voices waiting to be heard. As she prepared for her next adventure, Emily felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She had faced rejection, doubt, and hardship, but through it all, she had remained steadfast. Math had opened doors for her, and now she was using it to open doors for others. With every challenge she overcame, she proved that intelligence and perseverance could conquer even the tallest walls. And so, with unwavering determination and a heart full of gratitude, Emily Carter stepped boldly into the future, ready to continue, rewriting the narrative not just for herself but for everyone who dared to dream. Years had passed since Emily Carter first walked into Dr. Dawson's classroom as an uninvited observer. Now she stood at the front of a packed auditorium, not as a student, but as a respected professor and advocate for change. Her journey from the daughter of a janitor to one of Harvard's most celebrated minds was nothing short of extraordinary. Yet, what truly defined her wasn't the accolades or titles. It was her relentless commitment to making education accessible to all. Beyond the Board had grown far beyond Emily's initial vision. What started as a small tutoring program in local schools had blossomed into a nationwide initiative. The organization now operated in dozens of cities, offering free resources, mentorship, and workshops to thousands of students. Volunteers poured in from universities, businesses, and communities, eager to contribute to Emily's mission. She traveled frequently, visiting different chapters to ensure they aligned with her values rooted in inclusivity, creativity, and perseverance. One of the program's greatest successes came when Emily partnered with tech companies to develop an online learning platform. The platform provided interactive lessons in math, science, and coding, designed specifically for students without access to traditional classrooms. It included games, puzzles, and real-world problem-solving exercises to make learning engaging and fun. Within months of its launch, the platform attracted millions of users worldwide. Teachers praised its ability to spark curiosity in even the most reluctant learners. But Emily's work didn't stop there. She lobbied tirelessly for policy changes to address systemic inequalities in education. She met with lawmakers, wrote op-eds, and testified before legislative committees, urging them to invest in underserved schools. Her advocacy led to significant reforms, including increased funding for STEM programs in low-income districts and scholarships for minority students pursuing careers in mathematics and science. For many, Emily became a symbol of resilience and progress, a living example of what could be achieved when barriers were removed. Despite her achievements, Emily remained deeply connected to her roots. She often returned to her hometown, where she hosted annual events to celebrate academic excellence among local youth. These gatherings brought together families, educators, and community leaders, fostering a sense of unity and purpose. During one such event, a young girl named Sophia approached Emily shyly, clutching a handmade card. "Thank you for showing me that I can dream big," Sophia said softly. Emily knelt down to meet her eye level and smiled warmly. "You already are dreaming big," she replied. "Keep going." Back at Harvard, Emily continued to teach and conduct research, inspiring a new generation of mathematicians. Her classes were known for their energy and innovation. She encouraged students to think outside the box, challenging them to tackle problems in unconventional ways. Many of her former students went on to pursue groundbreaking work in fields ranging from artificial intelligence to climate modeling. They credited Emily not only for her brilliance, but also for her kindness and encouragement. Dr. Richard Dawson watched Emily's rise with immense pride. Their relationship had evolved from mentorship to genuine friendship, built on mutual respect and admiration. He often joked that he had learned more from her than she had from him. Together, they co-authored several influential papers exploring topics like cryptography and machine learning. Their collaboration earned them international acclaim, solidifying their reputation as two of the brightest minds in mathematics. Yet, Dr. Dawson's transformation extended beyond his professional life. Working alongside Emily had taught him the importance of humility and empathy. He began mentoring other underprivileged students, helping them navigate the challenges of higher education. His lectures became less intimidating and more inclusive, reflecting the lessons he had learned from Emily. When asked about his change in approach, he simply said, "Sometimes we need reminders that genius comes in many forms." Emily's influence reached far beyond academia. Her story resonated with people from all walks of life, sparking conversations about privilege, opportunity, and the power of education. Documentary filmmakers approached her to tell her story, capturing both her struggles and triumphs. The resulting film, titled Breaking Barriers, premiered at a major festival and received widespread acclaim. Viewers were moved by Emily's determination and her unwavering belief in the potential of every individual. Through it all, Emily stayed grounded. She avoided the trappings of fame, focusing instead on the impact she could have on others. Her father, Henry, remained her closest confidant and cheerleader. Though retired now, he still attended her speeches and events, beaming with pride whenever she took the stage. "I always knew you'd do great things," he told her one evening, after a particularly emotional talk. "But seeing it happen is something else entirely." As Emily reflected on her journey, she realized how interconnected everything had been. The hardships she faced, the ridicule, the doubts, the dismissals, had shaped her into the person she was today. Each challenge had forced her to dig deeper, to find strength she didn't know she possessed. And through it all, she had discovered that true success wasn't measured by personal accomplishments, but by the lives touched along the way. One day, while preparing for a conference, Emily received a letter from a former student named Marcus, the same boy who had once hesitated to answer a question during one of her workshops. Now in high school, Marcus wrote to thank her for believing in him. "Because of you, I'm thinking about becoming an engineer," he said. "I never thought I was smart enough, but you showed me that I am." Reading his words filled Emily with joy and renewed purpose. Her work was far from finished. There were still countless children waiting for someone to believe in them, still too many barriers blocking their paths. But Emily faced these challenges with optimism and resolve. She knew that change wouldn't happen overnight, but she also knew that every step forward mattered. Whether it was through teaching, mentoring, or advocating, she vowed to keep pushing boundaries and breaking down walls. As she prepared for her next lecture, Emily glanced out the window at the bustling campus below. Students hurried to class. Laughter echoed through the halls and ideas buzzed in the air. This place had once felt alien to her, a world she feared she would never belong to. Now it was home, a testament to the power of persistence and the importance of second chances. With a deep breath, Emily picked up her notes and headed toward the lecture hall. She stepped inside to find rows of eager faces, ready to learn and grow. As she began speaking, her voice steady and confident, she reminded herself of the lessons she had carried throughout her journey. Math isn't just numbers, it's possibilities. And so are we. Years later, Emily Carter returned to Harvard, not as a student or even as a visiting speaker, but as a professor. The same lecture hall where she had once been mocked now welcomed her with applause and admiration. Standing at the podium, she looked out at the sea of young faces, many of whom reminded her of herself, curious, hopeful, and eager to learn. It was a moment that felt surreal, yet deeply fulfilling. Her journey had come full circle. From being an outsider in Dr. Dawson's classroom to earning a place among the university's most respected faculty members, Emily's story was one of resilience and transformation. But what made her proudest wasn't her personal success, it was the ripple effect her work had created. Beyond the Board had grown into a global movement, reaching millions of students in over 50 countries. Its impact extended far beyond math and science, fostering a culture of inclusivity and innovation in education. That day, Emily stood before her audience to deliver a speech titled, "The Power of Belief." She began by sharing her own story, the struggles, the doubts, and the moments of triumph. Her voice was calm and steady, but her words carried weight. "When I first walked into this very building," she said, "I didn't belong here. At least that's what some people thought. They saw my background, not my potential. But I learned something important during those early days. Intelligence isn't defined by where you come from. It's shaped by how hard you're willing to fight for your dreams." The room fell silent as she spoke. Students leaned forward, hanging on every word. For many, her story resonated deeply. They saw themselves in her, a reminder that they too could overcome obstacles if they stayed true to their passions. Emily went on to talk about the importance of mentors and allies in breaking down barriers. She thanked Dr. Dawson publicly, acknowledging the role he played in her journey. "Dr. Dawson taught me 2 valuable lessons," she said with a smile. "First, never underestimate someone based on appearances. And second, redemption is possible when we choose to listen and learn." As she glanced toward the front row, she saw Dr. Dawson sitting there, his eyes glistening with emotion. Their journey together, from adversaries to partners, was proof that growth often comes from unlikely places. She then shifted her focus to the future, urging her listeners to use their talents for good. "We all carry biases," she explained. "But when we challenge them, we create opportunities for extraordinary change. Whether it's through teaching, research, or simply lending a hand to someone in need, each of us has the power to make a difference." By the time Emily concluded her speech, the entire auditorium rose to its feet, applauding not just her achievements but the values she represented. Her message transcended disciplines. It was about humanity, connection, and the belief that everyone deserves a chance to shine. After the event, Emily spent hours speaking with students who lingered to ask questions or share their stories. One young woman approached her nervously, clutching a notebook filled with equations. "I'm not sure I'm smart enough for this field," she admitted. Emily smiled gently and replied, "Smart isn't something you are. It's something you become. Keep working, keep asking questions, and trust yourself." Moments like these reminded Emily why she continued to teach. While her research earned her recognition, it was her interactions with students that brought her the most joy. Watching them grow, tackle challenges, and discover their potential filled her with pride. Many of her former students had gone on to achieve remarkable things, crediting her guidance for helping them navigate difficult paths. Some became educators themselves, inspired to pay forward the kindness they had received. Meanwhile, Beyond the Board continued to thrive under Emily's leadership. The organization expanded its reach, partnering with governments and NGOs to address educational disparities worldwide. Scholarships funded by the program allowed thousands of students to attend college, while its online platform remained a lifeline for learners in remote areas. Emily traveled extensively, meeting with beneficiaries and supporters, ensuring the initiative stayed true to its mission. Back home, her relationship with her father remained as strong as ever. Henry Carter, though retired, took great pride in his daughter's accomplishments. He often joked that mopping floors had prepared him to raise someone extraordinary. "You've done more than clean up messes," he told her one evening. "You've cleaned up minds, helping people see clearly what they couldn't before." As the years passed, Emily's legacy grew. She received numerous awards, including honorary degrees and humanitarian accolades. Yet, she remained humble, deflecting praise onto the communities she served. "This isn't about me," she would say. "It's about everyone who believes in the power of education to transform lives." Her partnership with Dr. Dawson also left a lasting mark on academia. Together, they co-authored groundbreaking research papers and championed initiatives to diversify STEM fields. Their collaboration became a model for bridging divides, showing that differences could lead to unity when approached with openness and respect. In her final years at Harvard, Emily dedicated herself to mentoring younger professors, passing on the lessons she had learned. She encouraged them to embrace vulnerability, seek diverse perspectives, and prioritize empathy in their teaching. "Education isn't just about imparting knowledge," she told them. "It's about inspiring confidence and curiosity. That's how we change the world." When Emily eventually retired, she did so knowing she had given everything she could to her work. Her impact was undeniable, felt in classrooms, boardrooms, and homes around the globe. Students who once doubted themselves now pursued careers in mathematics, engineering, and technology. Communities once overlooked now had access to resources and opportunities. Barriers once thought insurmountable had been broken. On her last day at Harvard, Emily stood outside the lecture hall where her journey began. She took a deep breath, savoring the memories. As she turned to leave, she noticed a familiar figure approaching, Dr. Dawson. Now older, with gray hair and a cane, he still carried himself with dignity. "One last walk?" he asked, offering his arm. Together they strolled across campus, reminiscing about the past and marveling at how much had changed. "You've done incredible things," Dr. Dawson said softly. "Things I never imagined possible." Emily shook her head, smiling. "We did them, together. And the best part? We proved that anyone can rise above limitations if given the chance." As they parted ways, Emily felt a profound sense of peace. Her life had been marked by challenges, triumphs, and countless acts of kindness. Through it all, she had remained steadfast in her belief that education was a gift meant for everyone. And, though her formal career had ended, her influence would endure for generations to come.